अस्सलामुअलैकुम। आयत 182 है आज। इसको फिर दूसरी आयत के साथ मिलाकर ही पढ़ना होगा। हाँ, औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम, बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। ज़ालिका बिमा क़द्दमत ऐदीकुम व अन्नल्लाहा लैसा बिज़्ज़ल्लामिल अबीद अल्लज़ीना क़ालू इन्नल्लाहा अहदा इलैना अल्ला नु'मिना लिरसूलिन हत्ता तातियना बिक़ुरबानिन ताकुलुहुन नार क़ुल क़द जाअकुम रुसुलुम मिन क़ब्ली बिल बय्यिनाति व बिल्लज़ी क़ुल्तुम फलिमा क़तलतुमूहुम इन कुंतुम सादिक़ीन।
Huzur is asking Imam Sahib what news there is of Japanese. Huzur is saying that you speak good Japanese to Imam Sahib. Huzur, that when you were there, then a Japanese gentleman told me that his Imam Sahib's accent is like the Japanese people. Huzur, do you remember Mayas and Soya? Tani Guche. Huzur saying his name was Soya as well. He would really appreciate and say that you know very good Japanese. Huzur is saying that what are the new news of Japanese? Imam Sahib's voice is not being carried very clearly, but I think he's saying that some people wanted to give some aid, and they when they met the Ahmadis, they were very pleased, and they were happy to give their aid to them so that they could separate them. Azur is saying, what about the lentils and rice? He's saying that they have big pans, saucepans. Imam Sahib is saying that it's not how many people's rice can be cooked in that. She's saying perhaps 100, 150. They're saying the Japanese people not eat a lot. They're saying that with us, the big pan was enough to feed 80 people. And sometimes when there were Kashmiri people who were eating, then they wouldn't be enough. Because Kashmiris eat very hot food. And secondly, they don't chew their food. We were saying that there was a gentleman called Abdul Aziz Sahib Dar who gave me a demonstration, and once he was saying that there wasn't enough food, and we said to him that no, there is no question of that. Eat as much as you like and take as much as you like. He said that we eat more, and your formulas will not apply to us. And the way they eat is they take a fistful of food and they swallow it directly. And I said, how could it be? He said, let me demonstrate it to you. So we were saying, do they eat without chewing it? So we were saying that I don't know whether this is this custom only in Kashmir everywhere or only in their family. And we were saying that Abdul Sahib is there's a sorry, we were saying that Yahya Sahib, who's our president, is he the grandson of Dar Sahib? Wasn't Abdul Sahib, wasn't he his father-in-law? Huzur is saying it's okay, leave this aside. Huzur is saying yes, somebody said that he was his father-in-law. Huzur is saying that Yahya Sahib is his grandson. There was a gentleman called Umar Dar, and Huzur is saying Umar Dar was a very old holy gentleman who had a very close relation with Muslim Azanho, and he loved him devotedly. And when Muslim Azanho went to Kashmir, Dar Sahib was was the one who organized it. Huzur saying, were there any more dars? Huzur saying that they must be listening to us and they'll start writing to us, inshallah. And the same, the same history will be repeated in our will become rejuvenated in our minds. Those saying that these are the verses I have already recited. This is because of what your hands that which your hands have sent on before yourselves, and the truth is that Allah is not at all unjust to His servants. Huzur has been told that the verse before this is yet to be translated. Huzur saying, is that when Huzur saying that why did you let me read ahead if you were supposed to start from there today? Huzur saying that we have made a mistake. The verses that I have recited, one of the verses previous to that should also have been included, because the dars was supposed to start from the verse before this one.
لقد سمع الله قول الله فقير ونحن أغنياء سنكتب ما قالوا وقتلهم الأنبياء بغير حق ونقول ذوقوا عذاب الحريق ذلك بما قدمت أيديكم وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد. यकीनन अल्लाह ताला ने उन लोगों की बात सुन ली है.
This is verse 182 of chapter 3.
उन्होंने ये कहा कि अल्लाह
لقد سمع الله قول الذين قالوا إن الله فقير ونحن أغنياء. And surely Allah has heard the utterance of those who said Allah is poor and we are rich. سنكتب ما قالوا, we shall record what they have said. وقتلهم الأنبياء, and their attempts to kill the prophets بغير حق, unjustly.
قتلهم الأنبياء بغير حق, जो नाहक अंबिया को कत्ल करते थे.
This crime will also note down, and we are making a record of it. وَنَقُولُ ذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ, and we shall say, taste ye the punishment of burning. ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ, that is because of that which your hands have sent on before yourselves. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ, and as far as Allah is concerned, Allah is not at all unjust to His servants. الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَهِدَ إِلَيْنَا. Huzur saying, I haven't recited this one, have I? Huzur is saying that before I begin discussing this verse, the verse we were discussing previously, in which I raised an objection against the report presented by Rabbi Ahmad Ali. Some people have apparently sent some reference to me in favor of Mir Ahmad Ali, and they have said that it is not advisable to reject what he is saying. I'm saying that I'll keep those references in front of you, and I'll tell you the difference, and I'll tell you that the reference that he has presented is without any source or anything. Huzur is saying that those references which are from those books, that is Bukhari and Muslim, etc., and then people say to me that how can you say that this is not important? Huzur is saying that apart from the Holy Quran, no other book can be relied on, and no matter what name you give a tradition, if it contradicts with two matters, two things, then in this regard there should be no hesitation in that those whatever tradition goes against the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and of course the Holy Quran, then the person who is listening to it has made a mistake, even if the people who are relating it are true. Sometimes people who are relating something, if they are true, sometimes they present something which is not impossible to accept. There are many references given by Abu Hurairah Zanhu, even though they may be correct, but the conclusions he drew from that are not correct. And Abu Zar Bukhari as well, the same things happened, and sometimes the wrong conclusion has an effect on the statement, and then it presents in such a way it becomes unacceptable. And then when something is related and then further related and further related, that is one after the other, and then you should think at how many people it has gone past, and then it has reached the person, the historian, who's saying that we are going through such an era ourselves. The Prophet Islam has not yet, his demise has not yet been 100 years, and in 1989 Ahmadiyya began in 1889, and so that's 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago at the time. And then those companions who reported certain things from the time of the Prophet Islam, other companions were raised extreme objections against them, because therefore in the time of Khalifa there was a board, and then also in the time of the Khalifa some of those references were stopped from being published, because sometimes one report is contradictory with another one, and sometimes somebody's character which is well known, which has many witnesses, it contradicts with that. So the thing that we do not find in the character of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, which is not included in his claim, which the Holy Quran is not proving proving the truth of, then to say that this has been found in Bukhari, then we can't accept it just because it's in Bukhari. Huzur is saying that the Prophet ﷺ had some discussions with some Maulvis, and one of the biggest argument was that they would repeatedly say to him that tell us it is true, tell us is it true? And the Prophet ﷺ would try to make them understand, but they used to say, is it correct or not? And if it's in Bukhari and it is true, then how can you reject it? They were saying that Sahi, the word Sahi in Urdu, correct, is also a term, and which means, this term means that as far as the writer is concerned, and as far as his research is concerned, those people who were relating it were true, and it was not, they could not be criticized in terms of their truthfulness, and as far as the principles of traditions are concerned, those can't be criticized, those traditions can't be criticized, and this is all it says. And apart from that, what other possibilities are there which make a particular tradition, and with respect to its subject, which make them no longer reliable, that is does not come under the word Sahi, authentic. For example, if it is something which is against the Holy Prophet ﷺ's noble character, or against the teachings of the Holy Quran, if this happens, then it is the knowledge of the actual tradition, the knowledge of the substance of the tradition. They were saying that in Mir Ahmad Ali Sahib's reference is not something. The reference he is given is not one we can accept because it's like presents the Holy Prophet ﷺ as a showman, and this is not the Holy Prophet ﷺ's noble character, and it's against what the Holy Quran is presents of the prophets, and so saying that those. So saying, for example, at one occasion, when the spiritual journey of Isra, with reference to that, the verses were revealed. It was in that vision the Holy Prophet ﷺ had traveled to Jerusalem, and at that time a Jewish scholar tried to catch the Holy Prophet ﷺ out and tried to prove him incorrect by standing up and asking that can you please tell us the map of Jerusalem and the gate, etc. Tell if you've been there, if you've been to Jerusalem, then you should remember it was only last night. It says that the Holy Prophet ﷺ had no knowledge of the map at the time because he saw a vision. It was in the form of a dream. It wasn't a normal dream or a normal vision. It was an incredible metaphorical experience. The Holy Prophet ﷺ kept quiet for a little while, and then in order to prove him to be untrue, Allah showed him a vision there and then another vision, and in that vision the Holy Prophet ﷺ was shown the whole city as it really was. He watched it in his mind, and he started to tell them. So he never claimed to have knowledge of the unknown, or nor did he do any such showman tactics that Mir Ahmad Ali is saying, and those references that are given to prove it, those themselves disprove it, and they say that the actual matter is something different. This is the first thing Huzur is saying. The Holy Prophet announced that he knew every true believer from the non-believers to the Day of Judgment. This is the first thing which is worth reflecting upon. The second is the hypocrites ridicule the claim of the Holy Prophet, saying that he could not know their hidden thoughts about himself and his faith and their hypocrisy. This was their claim, that you do not know of our state of hypocrisy. I've mentioned this before, that he didn't know himself, he was told of it and then he knew. He got up on the mimbar and recited this revelation, saying that he would tell anything they asked as to what would happen up to the end of the world. So he's saying, listen to this, listen to what this is saying. He said that ask me anything and I'll give you the news of everything that would happen to the end of the world. And how do those people know about the hereafter, up to the hereafter? All they wanted to know is that what was in our heart, do you know that or not? And in response to that, the Holy Prophet ﷺ would not have said something which they would not have known whether they were right or not, that is about the future. So he's saying that these are the traditions that have been sent to me in favor of the tradition that he presented. So he's saying that let us now hear this. A man of unknown audience asked to say about his parentage which none knew. So he asked about his parents as if he didn't know about it either, as to who they were. And then in the end, when the Umayyad who was stood up in this reference, Holy Prophet ﷺ then presented his displeasure by saying, will he then desist? Hal antum muntahun? Huzur is saying that I am surprised that those things that have been sent in favor of this, how are they supposed to favor this? The reference that they have sent has been taken from Bukhari, and it is from Hazrat Ibn Abbas and Abu Musa Ashri. They're saying with all three of these are not from Bukhari. There are four who are from Bukhari, which are from Bukhari. They're saying listen to this reference. Those reading the Arabic.
عن ابن عباس قال كان قوم يسألون رسول الله استهزاء فيقول الرجل من أبي ويقول الرجل تظل ناقته أين ناقتي فأنزل الله فيهم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تسألوا عن أشياء. अब इस रवायत का
They're saying what does this have to do with the reference of Ahmad Ali, and what does it have to do with the subject that is being mentioned? What is being said is that Ibn Abbas says that people would ask the Holy Prophet ﷺ questions in a mocking manner. That is the hypocrites, not the believers obviously, and they said, who is our father? One person stood up and said that my camel is lost, tell me where it is. فَأَنزَلَ فِيهِمْ, and about them Allah sent this verse, which is not which they are discussing. And what is that verse? يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَسْأَلُوا عَنْ أَشْيَاءٍ إِن تُبْدَ لَكُمْ تَسُؤْكُمْ. That all people do not ask questions about such matters, that if you are told of them, then you would not like it. The question is that if the person whose camel is lost, if he's asking where his camel is, then will he not like it if he is told where the camel is? There is absolutely there is nothing in this. Huzur is saying that the Holy Prophet ﷺ could not have responded to a question in this way, and this is that is a question of a permanent nature, that there is no need to ask small questions, and this will make the Sharia difficult for you. Allah has taught you certain principles, and there are some room for some weaknesses, but if Allah goes into the detail, then it will be Allah will expect the best, and not everyone will be able to do that. So Allah has been kind, and He has been forgiving, and Allah hasn't told you every single detail of the Sharia, and He has left some things to you. So don't ask questions which if you get the answers, it will be difficult for you. This is the subject of this verse, and God forbid he says that he applied this to that question when somebody asked, where is the camel, and where's my camel, and that was a mocking statement. And then in the teaching of the Quran is that you should ignore someone who asks questions like this. Zul is saying that I'm not impressed with anything that is from Bukhari if it clashes with the Holy Quran, and this is why I don't accept this tradition, because it clashes with the Holy Quran and with the Holy Prophet ﷺ's noble character. But then further, was saying, what does this have to do with Mir Ahmad Ali's reference? And he's talking about something completely different, and somebody sent this to me and said that this is like it. The second tradition is that Anas anhu said that once the Holy Prophet ﷺ had given such a sermon which they had never heard before. He said, who was reading the Arabic, at this the companions cried a lot. And he said that, look, there is a tradition that is in favoring Mir Ahmad Ali. Huzur is saying, what does this have to do with that? The Holy Quran is saying that you laugh a lot, you mock at the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Islam and religion, but what your result is going to, what your end is going to be, if you knew that, then you would laugh less and you would cry a lot. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ points towards that, and he says that Allah has informed me of certain knowledge of the unknown, and this is mentioned in the Holy Quran. So the teachings that I have been taught, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that what I have been told in the Holy Quran, it is not a, and the end that you are going towards, you should not be laughing, you should cry. Huzur saying that have you understood the relationship with the one that Mir Ahmad Ali has presented? Huzur saying that what Imam Sahib, do you understand? You are quite clever. Now the third tradition, Bukhari Kitab al-Ilm, Hazrat Anas who relates that once the Holy Prophet ﷺ arrived in the mosque, then Abdullah bin Huzafa, about whose father it was the sarcastic remark of his being an ignorant man, he said, "Who is my father?" The Holy Prophet ﷺ, "Your father is Huzafa." Then again, repeatedly, he said, "Ask me questions." Umar sat on his knees in a source of respect and said, I was reading the Arabic. At this, the Holy Prophet ﷺ fell quiet and he became less upset. This is something a bit similar, but it doesn't have anything to do with the tradition that Mir Ali, Ahmad Ali has mentioned. It doesn't form a background for that. That says that the Holy Prophet ﷺ stood on the pulpit and said that I have been told everything to the day of judgment. This is what the Barelvis believe, and now ask me any questions and I'll respond to you. Huzur saying that a person who nobody knew, he asked, "Who is my father?" And the Holy Prophet ﷺ told him, "This is completely a different, subjects." That man's name is being given in this reference. His name was Huzafa, and people used to say to him that you are not Huzafa's son. So there is no question of any knowledge of the unseen. This was a teaching of morality, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he said, "My name is Abdullah bin Huzafa. Who is my father?" And he said, "Your father is Huzafa." What does this have to do with the knowledge of the unseen? What does it have to do with the strange and weird reference that Mir Ahmad Ali has invented in order to humiliate the Umar Zanho? Huzur is saying that the subject here is that the one whose father somebody is meant to be, nobody has a right to raise any allegations against him, and he'll be known from that father. And because the coming together of a man and a woman, there is no other witness except Allah and His angels and the people who are in it. So the society will be full of problems if people start to conjecture as to whose child someone is. At this, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, then another person they say stood up, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ became upset. And this tradition says that he said, "Okay, fine, ask me questions." And the fourth tradition, the subject is completely the opposite of this, in that it says that the Holy Prophet ﷺ came, the people started to ask him, put lots of questions to him, and it appears that it was perhaps something to do with the unknown. And at this, the Holy Prophet ﷺ kept quiet and he expressed his displeasure. And then at an occasion, Allah must have given him such a revelation, if this is true. I'm not sure if this is correct or not. I'll tell you what that reference is and then I'll comment on it afterwards. This is the fourth reference. Abu Musa Ashri relates that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was questioned about something which he expressed his displeasure. He did not give any response, and when there were too many of such questions, then the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, "Now ask me whatever you want." So it means that before he had ignored the questions and he had not paid any attention to such silly questions, and sometimes After the Holy Prophet ﷺ was asked a question, he would keep quiet, and Gabriel would come and tell him something, give him the response in order to answer the mocking of people, and such incredible knowledge would have been given to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, which would make those people's mouths quiet. So, just as I was saying, I told you about the Isra reference, that when the Holy Prophet ﷺ was given special news to respond to the Jew, was always saying that if you accept this, then what would come from this is that Huzafa asked about his father. So saying this is also rejecting the first reference, because in the first it says that Holy Prophet ﷺ came, and Abdullah bin Huzafa put a question to him, and this is presenting a different scenario completely, and it has an internal contradiction inside it, and the one which is that of Mir Sahib, it is completely different. It doesn't have anything to do with this one, and it has many internal contradictions. Here it says that there were a lot of questions, and then Huzafa asked about his father. In this reference, it says that Huzafa asked about his father, the other one, it says that Abdullah bin Huzafa asked about his father. Azur is saying that they are going against each other, and they are made up stories from afterwards. Azur is saying that even if they are correct according to Bukhari, and yet they contradict with each other so much that it cannot be accepted. There is a huge difference between Abdullah bin Huzafa and Huzafa. In this one, it says that Huzafa stood up. In one, it says that there were many questions were being asked. We were saying, first of all, even this is not acceptable to me. The Holy Prophet ﷺ would often sit among his companions, and it is said that sometimes a hypocrite may come, or a head of the Jew may come, and they may ask a question. But this scenario, that as if he was sitting with some hypocrites, and people were bothering him and putting lots of questions to him, this is not in accordance with the sense of honor that the companions felt about the Holy Prophet ﷺ. It is not about, and it's not doesn't go with the humble style of the companions. They were extremely humble people, and if anyone asks questions which sounded impertinent, then the companions would dislike it, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ was also respond to it in a displeasure, in the form of displeasure. So this scenario is not that of the Holy Prophet ﷺ's company. So it has an internal contradiction. So Huzur is saying that I'm telling the ulama as well that they should not close their eyes and just go after the name, otherwise they'll get involved into a lot of problems. The basic guiding principle that can never be wrong, which is that La yantiqu illa hawa in huwa illa wahyu yuha, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ does not say anything of his own accord. He says it with a revelation. So any tradition becomes contradictory to the Holy Quran, that is to the revelation, and one that contradicts with the Holy Prophet ﷺ's noble character, and is no matter what you call them, I cannot accept them, and they are not traditions which could be called traditions. It may be some mistakes of the people who are relating it, and they may have forgotten some things because they were true people. Then the people who were combining these traditions, compiling them, because those people were true, so they took them and wrote them down. But sometimes it appears that Imam Bukhari himself was not happy with it, was not comfortable with them, and then they would express he would express another tradition which would go against that one. So I think there's no time to go into the depth of this, but such discussions should be taken up in Al-Fazl as well, so that people understand these matters. Now let us return to this verse under discussion. Fakir, what is the word fakir? Fakr is a noun. Sorry, Huzur is saying that is something called mushabba bil fail, like alim. It is some Arabic grammar. Fakiratun is extreme destitute, or somebody who is which breaks people's backs. So there is a circle around the spinal cord which is called al-faqra, and when someone who becomes in such a terrible state that they can't stand up then in their own 2 feet, and the same is the subject that is found in the word al-fikra and al-faqr as well, that a person who becomes handicapped and who is unable to earn for himself and he cannot stand on his own 2 feet. Hazrat Musa al-Islam's prayer, when he sat down, it was Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir, that oh my Allah, I am a beggar for anything good that you may give me, anything that you may give me and which you think I need. Lima anzalta, that the decision is to you. He didn't tell him what exactly he needed. It's an incredible prayer which, in generally speaking, we should count it among our prayers, because it has a very deep effect, and it saves one from one's foolishness in prayer, because sometimes when we are foolish, we think something is good for us and we say, oh Allah, give me this. But in this prayer which Moses asked for, everything is left to Allah, that you are the one who knows what I require, what are my needs, and I am needy of what you can give me, and I'm leaving the decision to you. And as a result of that, he gave government everything. He was given prophethood. He was given marriage. They were saying what a great prayer and how amazingly it was heard. So the word fakir is used in the most beautiful way in this in this prayer, and Allah loved it a lot, and this is why Allah has saved it for us. Fakir is that pit in which people plant date palm or anything, in which any pit in which water stands, etc. Because a fakir is someone who doesn't have anything, and then he is at the lowest form, the lowest state. So that part of land which is at the lowest state, that's where the water flows towards. So it means that the earth is also that same fakir which is waiting for the blessings from other places. So only when water flows from other lands, then it helps them, and the person towards whom the blessings of other people flow, he is also called fakir. There is one meaning of fakir which is departs from the norm. If you're saying that in order to slit to pierce the nose of a camel in order to put a ring through it, you're saying that it's because he's completely helpless. You're saying is called nimana in Punjabi. So they're speaking to someone, they're asking him in Punjabi. Someone said something in Punjabi. He's reading some Arabic. The word fakr applies to 4 things. This is not something that important. All of the situations are well known in day-to-day life. Imam Raghib has divided into 4 parts. He was saying that I'll tell you briefly what 4 the parts is divided into. One is fakr, which is for all things. Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara'u ilallahi. O people, Allah is not needy of you, you are needy of Allah, and in this respect everything is lower than Allah. The blessing does not go from the bottom to the top, like water that is in a lowland does not go upwards, and also not to have any wealth or inheritance. And this is mentioned in this verse, al-fuqara allazina uhsiru, that if somebody does not have anything, and here the word uhsiru, this means for the sake of Allah, somebody has stopped themselves from earning. That is, either they have been stopped, or the love of religion has made them fakir. The one who is asking, sorry, there's no question of them begging, they're very poor. Poverty is mentioned, and this refers, this is as far as applies to Ashab al-Sufa. Some of them would not go outside the mosque because they did not want to and to miss anything the Holy Prophet ﷺ had said. So this is also in Ohsiru, that they are such people are also referred to as Ohsiru, who have been surrounded by outsiders, and they are not permitted to earn. And this has happened in Pakistan a lot with Ahmadis, and their sources of earnings have been hindered. Obstacles have been put in those paths. So this Ohsiru applies to them, and also planting some plants is also been mentioned as being in the word fakir by Imam Raghib. Huzur saying that al-hariq, zuqu azab al-hariq, taste the punishment of the fire. Harriqu wa ahriqu, it means something that's burned, and harriqu wansuru alihatakum, that burn Abraham. This was the declaration that was made about him. And it says that burn him and help your idolaters. And if it is read in Bab Iftial, then it would mean to let something begin for oneself. And so Huzur is saying that this word, Huzur is giving different forms of this word in Arabic, and saying it means that something that is burnt, or something that is used for burning. And now the word al-abid, Imam Raghib has shed a lot of light on this subject, and he said that al-abid refers to those servants, those ordinary people are meant, where the worshippers are mentioned there. The word ibad is used for plural, and abid and ibad both, in both this is the difference, that abid is used for ordinary people, who is abd, but not for someone who is a worshipper. And for one who is a worshipper, the word used is ibad, the plural that is used is ibad. According to Imam Raghib, the expression of obedience and humbleness, Huzur is reading it very fast and saying it's a very long reference. I'm saying there's no need to bring this here, to discuss it here. Briefly, the four types he has mentioned, I'll explain them to you. Abdun, that is servant, has four types. One is that man who is selling and buying is legitimate, just as al-abdu bil-abdi, that in a slave for a slave. And the Holy Quran has said that these are when something is someone is permitted to be made a slave. This is what is meant. and also a slave is someone who who doesn't have any power over himself. Abdul Ijaz, that's somebody who is called a person who is because of their invention, and he's saying that all the creatures are included in this. Imam Raghib says that Allah is the one who created us, and the one who created us, so therefore we belong to him. And he's saying that this especially applies to man because because of Allah's creation that it applies. In kullu man fi samawati wal ardi illa ati rahmana abda, everything that is in the heavens and the earth, every one of those will be presented before the merciful Lord as an abd, as a creation of Allah. Then they say Abdum bil ibada wal khidma, that due to worship and work somebody becomes a person, somebody becomes a slave. So there are two types of people in this respect. One is when Allah says وَاسْكُرْ عَبْدَنَا أَيُّوبَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا, that remember our servant Ayub, he was extremely grateful person. نزل الفرقان على عبده إن عبادي ليس لك عليهم سلطان وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا. These are all those people who are Allah mentions with love because they are Allah, they belong to Allah. And then Abdul Dunya is also kind of person who becomes the world's servant, or the servant of fame, and of his own needs. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Tais Abdul Dirham, Tais Abdul Dinar, that the person who is a servant of dirhams and dinars, they have all tripped. So the person who becomes a slave of money, he has become wasted. So when somebody trips, then they fall on the path and they don't achieve their ends. Then in the end he says that abd, that is a servant, its plural is abid, and abidun as well is also mentioned. And abd, which is in the meaning of ibad, its plural is ibad. As far as the usage of abd is concerned, and the Abdul Shams, Abdul Lat, etc. Were found in the idolaters of Mecca. And for a camel, when it's full of tar, then the word Mu'abbadun is used. So something which becomes humiliated is also called abd. And they used to put tar on a camel if it was itching everywhere. And it was saying that this it happens in our countries as well. When dogs, etc., have some insects growing on them, then the tar is rubbed on their bodies, and such a camel is also called abd, but he becomes completely a complete slave. And in the same meanings, Abatta Bani Israel was said by Moses to Pharaoh that are you Abatta, that you have taken all the Abatta Bani Israel, that you have you're telling me, you're reminding me of my favor by making the children of Israel slaves. He was saying that when the word abdun is used for ordinary slaves, then, or about people, then its plural is abid. In this verse, the word abid is being used. the commentators have said that the Sanaktubu will be apparent, the work of Sanaktubu will be apparent, but some commentators and people who see visions, they have said that this means to keep something um, to keep something safe and not to forget it. For this also the word kitab is used. This discussion has been raised up many times, and people have been divided into two groups where the Holy Quran says Sanaktubu as to what this means there, because the book means does not mean writing with a pen. So those people who are extremely intelligent and they thought that this is beyond Allah, that on the one hand they're saying that Allah may have taken up a pen and written, so they think that it couldn't have mean this, it can only mean that Allah makes a record of something and it is saved and it doesn't get erased. And also Allah has made such a system in the universe, which is something that I have mentioned in my homeopathy lectures, that whatever something happens once, it cannot be erased, and it becomes embedded in something which is a form of writing. And there are many scientists who also present this that perhaps in the future such instruments may be invented, that those voices that were present in the air 1,000 years ago, it's apparently lost sounds can be can be brought back, or can be heard, and they can be re-recorded. Who's saying that how far this is going to happen or not, but the fact of the matter is that vibration that's in the universe remains, and it only lessens a bit. And about this, Huzur is saying that the temperature of the ambient temperature of the universe, when the universe, the scientists say that it is refers to the Big Bang, which was about 18 billion years ago, and it's the power of that is spreading, and it has raised the temperature of the universe to 4 Kelvin, and in our time, in our era, it's only gone to 4 degrees Kelvin. But as we're saying that there's some very interesting philosophical arguments with respect to this by the scientists, and they say that it is when something occurs, then it gets erased, but because it spreads, so it becomes less concentrated and it can't return towards its center again. So energy has 2 forms, but they're different forms, but from this point of view, there are 2 types of energies, that all the energy that is in the universe, one part of that is getting transferred into such a strength which can never return back to its origin. So even if it's lost, even if the universe is folded up, then the final black hole, that energy which is once left, will not go back. And this is an incredible it is getting less in a very, very minute way, but it is reducing. But that is the total energy of the universe is reducing. So we're saying that it will still remain, even though whether you can measure it or not, it will still remain. So all of these things, we're saying this it's interesting, but there's no time to go into the details. But I just want to tell you that as far as Allah is concerned, Allah has a system of record keeping, and anything that happens once, it can never be erased. And when the Day of Judgment, all these things will be brought to focus, and people's skins will speak against them, and people will say to the skins, "Why are you speaking against me?" So Naktubu there is no it doesn't mean that Allah takes a pen in his hand and he writes. It means that the system of recording of Allah, the record keeping, is completely flawless, and the smallest thing or the biggest thing, no matter what happens, whatever occurs, it will always, its effects will always remain in the universe. So they're saying that I do not want to take this up anymore because some commentators are discussing what this recording means, but I've already explained it to you. Now there is another discussion that لَقَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّذِينَ, Allah has recorded these people's words when they said Allah is Fakir and we are rich. And which were those people? Huzur is saying that people are trying to look at the reason for revelation and they have forgotten the actual permanent reason for this verse. So Huzur is saying that the fact of the matter is that whatever somebody says remains in Allah's knowledge, and if someone does a more severe sin, then Allah warns him that whatever you are saying, some evil thoughts that you have, they will also be punishable. So to say this, especially that Allah is poor and we are rich, this is such a impertinent statement that the Naqtabu then also means that their punishment becomes certain. So with respect to this subject, the recording, without getting into the subject of writing, we try to understand why the word Naqtabu is used, because the word Kitab, but this all the jurists who have to do with the Islamic jurisprudence, they say that as far as this word is the most obligatory word, that something has been written on you. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam, the fasting has been written on us. Just they have not been written on us. It means that it is an obligation that nothing can be regarded as a bigger obligation than that. And about fasting, people usually think that it means that I get very hungry, I get very weak, I can't fast. Some people do this much, and while some, even if they are dying, they do not leave it because it is against even if they are drinking wine, they drink wine and keep and fast. So we're saying this does happen. We're saying that, I don't know if I told you, I got a telephone call from Belgium mission. He said that there are four Pakistani boys, and they are arguing with this, and they are phoned the mosque to find out. And they said that in the last 10 days of Ramadan, all night they were drinking wine, and they forgot to have the sehri in the morning, and azan happened. So they are very worried. There are two parties. The two boys are saying that no, we can keep a fast, and we can keep a fast like this, and two are saying that no, the last thing that we did was we drank wine, therefore if we can't keep this fast, although it's a long fast, and saying that what is the answer of this? Because they're saying that our Imam Sahib, who is this is in France, he is such a simple man. He is asking me, he phoned me and he said that give me an answer quickly so I can give them an answer. So Huzur is saying that this is how people mock at obligations. In some places some people keep their fast with wine and then break it with wine as well. And also some people, they sneeze and they say we can't fast anymore. So the word kitab is to make something certain, to make something a must. So Naqtabu means that the punishment that we gave them, we made it so certain on them that in no way can they be outside the scope of their punishment. There's no question of writing it or anything. There's no question of that argument anymore. Huzur saying Imam Razi writes about with respect to this. In the Moses' time, when people tried to get Huzur saying, sorry, this is to do with the verse afterwards. Imam Razi says that no intelligent person can say that Allah is poor and I am rich, except in order to make someone a criminal. It means that this is not what the Jews actually thought, and they didn't say that we are rich and God is poor. It was only a way of mocking that the God that you are presenting, that God is poor, and that such a God cannot be God. And the references that have been collected in this respect are strange, and they want to present any name just to say that this such and such person has said this is why this isn't mentioned in the Holy Quran, whereas the Holy Quran has mentioned the same subject elsewhere as well, and it has made it very clear that when Allah asks for wealth, it is not because He is needy, it is for your sake, it's for your well-being. You are asked for financial sacrifices, and to search for a particular incident for this, in favor of this, is so pointless that it's strange that to see that such people have wasted their time looking for reasons for this revelation. Huzur is saying that the order the Holy Quran is found in now is the order that was revealed by Allah, and in the very first verses Allah says, whatever we give them, they spend in the cause of Allah. So this is mentioned so extensively in the Holy Quran. So if it is mentioned in this verse, then to say that such and such time the Jews did this or that, this is wrong. They did used to mock, and whenever the Holy Quran speaks of financial sacrifice, the Jews of the time who were richer than those people, they were trying to show that these are needy, and these people are poor, and their God is also poor, and He asks for money from them. Nauzubillah. Huzur saying, but they have made up certain references which are quite damaging. Once it says that once the Holy Prophet ﷺ took the Bakr with him, and he wrote to the Jews of Banu Kanka, and he said that accept Islam and give a goodly part of your wealth to Allah as a loan. And this a Jew called Finas said that now has God become so poor that he is asking us for wealth, whereas the Jews have never been asked for money. The believers are addressed, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, that as a definition of faith, they have been asked for financial sacrifice. How could the Holy Prophet ﷺ write to a Jew? And they were saying that it could be that they could have been asked to accept Islam. That is correct. At this, the Abu Bakr who slapped on the Jew's face, and he said, if there was no treaty among us, then I would have definitely slain you. And some references say that the Abu Bakr could not have killed them because he was quite aged at the time, and there were several other Jews sitting there. So we're saying this is usually such references are made up with reference to Umar Anhu, But this person has apparently forgotten, and he's alleging that Abu Bakr Anhu has said this. The Jew told the Holy Prophet ﷺ about the Abu Bakr Anhu. Abu Bakr Anhu said this is the incident, and he said no, this is what happened. So then, in in order that Abu Bakr Anhu's truth should be confirmed, that's why this verse came. As we're saying, is this what the Holy Quran's teachings are all about? Even for a certain moment, if how much we understand the Holy Quran, and that understanding cannot accept such a reference, and then this reference is also contradictory with that verse of the Holy Quran. People don't think that it has the proof of its own falsehood within it. That verse reference says that a person, Phinehas, said this. They're saying that the whole people are not called Phinehas, and the verse is saying, لَقَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّذِينَ Allah has heard the word of those people who are gathered together. That there are people who say these things. So Phinehas was one man. Why should Allah say Allazina? Is referring to a lot of people. And then Hazrat Bakr who told them, and Allah did not tell him. So Hazrat Bakr went and told the Holy Prophet ﷺ, but Allah is saying, the Holy Quran is saying that Allah has heard this. So these are just made up stories, and such references are given importance for no reason, and this takes one away from and blemish on the beautiful and the exquisite subjects of the Holy Quran. So this person Phinehas is mentioned so extensively in the commentators, and other references that are found, and other names as well. And some people say it wasn't Phinehas, it was someone else, and the other people say it wasn't him, it was someone else. So every reference contradicted the other reference. Imam Razi says that this verse is an ordinary verse, a general verse, and the commentators have for no reason said that this is with regards to certain Jews. It's a very good opinion, and this informs us, lets us know of the great understanding of Imam Razi. He's saying that this is a subject, it's a general subject, and to refer this to be only about the Jews and to search for names, this is not right. And it says that this was not some new character of the Jews. When Moses asked Jews for a physical sacrifice, the same was their attitude. They said, "Izhab anta wa rabbaka faqatila inna hahuna qaidun." Then why should so saying the same subject here, that Allah is all powerful, so He can fight. So why does He need our help? So you and Moses, both of you go and fight, and we will just sit here and wait and see what happens. So this is the old style of the custom of the Jews, and so to tie this with any particular reference is wrong. Imam Razi says that one, if you're going to think that naktubu means to write something, then one thing is logical, that when Allah heard this, Allah made the decision that we shall write this within the Holy Quran, so that forever these people's evil conduct is recorded in the Holy Quran. They're saying that to write it in the Holy write it, if you want it to mean that it is written, then you could take it to mean that it is written in the Holy Quran. But they're saying I don't think there's any need for any further commentary on this word. And another one say that the Jews directly addressed the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and they said when this verse was revealed, Man zallazi yuqridu Allah qarzan hasanan wa yudha'ifuhu Allah cousin, sorry, I missed the last of it, of that. So he's saying that they are saying that this is about that as well, by the Jews, and they say that the Jews said that, oh Muhammad, your Lord has become poor, and he wants a loan from people, and then this verse was revealed. So he was saying that he's saying that the way that Allah has said this is also a general form. Allah is saying, قَالَ الَّذِينَ, Allah has heard what people are saying, and Allah is giving this response. And about the reference of Finhas, Muhammad bin Ishaq says that Ikrimah says, which reports from Ibn Abbas, that it wasn't Finhas himself, there are other people around him, and there were scholars and intelligent people as well, and there was another man called Ashaya among them as well, and Abu Bakr said to him that they're saying that these references have all become confused. And this has been taken from Tafsir Ibn Hisham and Tafsir Qasmi. They're saying that in these books, without any references, without any authenticity, and also in history, in the books of history as well, there's lots of such things have been added together, and to make them the guide for the Holy Quran and try to understand the Holy Quran via those references. This is completely wrong. The Holy Quran is not needy of such references. In such places where the subject is difficult, which are called mutashabihat, such verses which are mutashabihat, about them the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said certain things which are with the help of which one understands mutashabihat, and these such verses are, all they do is that they confuse muhkamat, that is those verses which, or the understanding of which is direct and simple. So if something is being understood without them, there's no point in putting veils on top of them. The Shiites take another meaning out of this. They say that people had not seen Allah, but because they had seen the holy men of Allah, then they thought that if Allah was rich, then He would have made His people rich as well. This got nothing to do with that verse, that Allah saw poor people or rich people or anything like that. This was a sarcastic remark given because Allah was asking people for a goodly loan, that is a financial sacrifice. Huzur is saying the rest is all about the publishing, etc. I think Huzur said. Next verse, let us take up of this verse. Huzur is saying, where is that gone? Is it underneath everything? Here it is. وقتلهم الأنبياء بغير حق ونقول ذوقوا عذاب الحريق. This, and Allah has
इसमें बहुत सी बहसें उठी हैं कि कत्ल अंबिया से क्या मुराद है.
The attempts to kill the prophets unjustly, and we shall say, taste ye the punishment of burning. Huzur is saying that what is referred to, what is meant by the killing of prophets, and some people have said that this means to annihilate their message, because the killing of prophets is not mentioned in the Bible. People say that even if whether it's found or not, some prophets they used to kill, and in proof of this they used to present the killing of Zakaria or Hazrat Yahya. But the question is that the reference in the Holy Quran is given that is from an ancient time. It isn't giving. It isn't talking about an incident. The Holy Quran is speaking about a permanent situation, and their permanent action that they used to kill every prophet. And some ulama have thought that this they've tried to save themselves from this complaint or allegation that here the word to attempt to kill someone is called the word kill or killing. This is very interesting, Huzur says, because this has been explained by many many commentators that to attempt to kill someone can also be called killing. So why can to give why an attempt to crucify someone cannot be called to crucifixion? When we say وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ and we say that it means an attempt or crucifixion, then the Maulvis complain about this, whereas their commentators say the same thing, that they say that to kill someone or to do qatl means that there was an attempt made at their lives, at the lives of the prophets. And as far as these two murders are concerned, of Zakaria and Hazrat Yahya al-Islam, in this regard, the traditions that he has found, he has not found any tradition of the Holy Prophet ﷺ in which Hazrat Yahya's killing is mentioned, but is found in the traditions, in some reports. Huzur saying that I need help with this, and those ulama who are especially looking at the traditions, if they know, Huzur saying that include in this Zakaria's murder as well, about the killing of the Zakaria and Hazrat Yahya. Is there any statement of the Holy Prophet ﷺ? Then if you can send it to me with a detailed reference, because these days I'm trying to get this researched as to what that the references about John the Baptist's murder, how much is that true, and was he actually killed, or the same thing happened to him as happened to Jesus, just as Jesus, people thought that he was killed, but he wasn't actually killed. In the same way about John the Baptist, there seems to be certain possibilities, and in this respect, they're saying that I know about those references which the Prophet Islam's reference, Mr. Prophet Islam said about these things. They are those people who there is ordinary, the normal the normal points of view presented by other Muslim scholars. He then present his own research about this at all. So to say that this is this means that the Holy Prophet ﷺ has accepted the killing of of John the Baptist, this is not true. There other discussions were taking place, and in those discussions the actual conclusion that he drew was that it is not possible that the first person of the Ummah of Moses and the Holy Prophet ﷺ's first should have been murdered, that is, should be killed through murder, and it was not possible that the final one of the Moses' Ummah should have been killed, and the final Messiah should be killed, because they are both very similar to each other. So whatever occurred upon the Moses' Ummah its end result is that the first of his ummah, that is Moses, was not killed, and neither was the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the promise of Allah to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that people, Allah will save you from people, the same promise was fulfilled for him, and the same was also fulfilled for the sake of Jesus. And as far as the first ones are concerned, the Prophet ﷺ is saying that there is a possible resemblance. He says that just as Sayyid Ahmad Sahib Shaheed before the Promised Islam, he was killed. He was supposed to have been killed in Balakot, and also it is said that John the Baptist was also killed as but the Prophet ﷺ has not said for certain that this is what he believed. We have found such possibilities in our research that gives lends to the fact that we're saying that we have researched and we have found out that there is a mention of Mard Sadiq, or the truthful person, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and which appears to be about John the Baptist, but they're quite complex affairs, and as a result of those, some Western researchers have also drawn the same conclusions as we have drawn. They say that the research that we have done, there is no firm reference of the death, the killing, the murder of John the Baptist, and the attempt at his murder. The reports of that are very confused, and they're saying that the things that have been sent with reference to this, the traditions have been sent. They're saying, where's that long story that I have been sent? They're saying that how could it be so short? In this tradition, a reference is found, is mentioned, that which are in the Bible and other authentic books which they regard as authentic. And that story is that the governor of the area, who was he was in charge of four provinces. Yahya and John the Baptist used to tell this King Herod about his affair, and about this there are different topics, and when this is completed, then we shall inform you. But Huzur is saying that some people say, some references are saying that he had an affair with his niece, and some say it was about someone else. But they say that because Herod was so angry, he didn't kill him himself, but his beloved's mother said that to ask for his head, John the Baptist's head. And such incidents are found in stories and stuff. Huzur is saying that the tradition that has been presented in this regard is from Ibn Abbas, and Mustadrak Hakim has presented this, and is saying that he used to look for traditions in the same standard as Bukhari and Muslim. Huzur is saying that this matter is completely false. The internal witnesses prove that it's completely false, and it has nothing to do with the reality. And the story is that a woman insisted that he should be killed in front of him, so Yahya was brought before him, and a tray was brought, and Herod killed him with his own hand, and he cut the head and presented it to the tray. He said that, is there anything else that you want? He wanted to give her something else, and she refused. She said this is all she wanted. And the references that we have with historical which are historically authentic, whereas even they seem to have some mistakes in them. And it is said that this was about it was like a birthday party, and there was a party of dance and song, and at this occasion this woman made the the demand. John the Baptist was not present at the time. He was at an outpost of the Dead Sea, sorry, and he was imprisoned in a castle, and the distance from where this revelry was taking place, it is about 70 miles, and at that time, imagine how people could travel 70 miles, and it is said that he sent someone there and said kill him and send his head. So the person who was riding on a horse, he went 70 miles and then came back and brought the head on a tray, and they were still enjoying themselves in the revelry. So these things which are found with the references, they are also rubbish, and this particular reference has made it even further strange and weird, and this has been presented as a tradition, whereas there is no historical reference. And Mustadrak Hakim has got many such revelations, and Bahiki has gone even further. There are many references which he has inserted in there, and such references you cannot accept them unless they go with something that is mentioned in the Holy Quran. So the same is also in reference to the Yahya al-Islam, who's saying, they say the time is finished now, who's saying that you haven't raised your finger because you thought it was an interesting story. The rest will be tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.